To the presentation on Address Resolution Protocol or ARP. ARP is essential in network communication as it maps IP address to MAC addresses, enabling devices on the same network to talk to each other. In this session, we will explore how ARP works, its message types, security issues, and practical examples. Introduction to ARP. ARP is a protocol used to map an IP address to a MAC address on a local network. When a device wants to communicate with another device, it uses ARP to resolve physical address of the destination device. This process is crucial for communication on a local area network or LAN, where devices need to know each other hardware addresses to send data. ARP process overview. ARP process begins when a device A wants to communicate with device B. Device A knows the IP address of device B but needs its MAC address to send data. First, device A sends out an ARP request, which is a broadcast to all devices on the network. When device B receives the request, it responds with an ARP reply, providing its MAC address. Device A then stores this MAC address in its ARP cache so it does not have to repeat this process the next time. We have types of ARP messages. There are three main types of ARP messages. First, the ARP request, which is a broadcast message asking for the MAC address of a particular IP. Second, ARP reply, where the device that owns the requested IP address responds with its MAC address. Lastly, there is gracious ARP, which is then sent by a device to announce changes its own IP or MAC address or to check for an IP conflicts on the network. Let us discuss about what is meant by ARP caching. To avoid repeatedly sending ARP requests, device store IP to MAC address mappings in an ARP cache. This is a temporary table of resolved address that improves network efficiency. However, since network configurations can change, ARP cache entries have a timeout period after which they are removed to ensure the mappings remain accurate. You can view device ARP's cache using a ARP command in your text editor. Let us discuss about ARP in action, particularly network traffic capture. Let's take a at an ARP in action using a Wireshark, the network packet analyzer. Here we can see a ARP request being broadcast across the network and the ARP reply coming directly from the device that owns the IP address. Note that fields in the ARP packet such as the senders and the target IP and the MAC address and the broadcast nature of the ARP request. What is meant by ARP spoofing, which enhances the security issue? While ARP is essential for network communication, it has a major secure vulnerability. ARP spoofing in this attack, a malicious actor sends a fake ARP replies to trick device into sending their traffic to a wrong MAC address, often the attacker's device. This enables man in the middle attack where the attacker can intercept or modify network traffic. ARP spoofing is a serious threat, but there are ways to mitigate it. What are the mitigation techniques? Protect against ARP spoofing, networks can implement mitigation techniques such as dynamic ARP inspection or DAI, which takes ARP replies against a trusted database. Another method is used is static ARP entries ensure that devices always communicate with correct MAC address. Monitoring tools can also detect suspicious ARP activity, preventing attack before they cause harm. So let us discuss about hands-on ARP activity. Now let us hands-on. Using the ARP-A command, you can view your device ARP cache to see the IP to MAC address mapping it has learned. To test this further, you can clearly use your ARP caching using ARP-D star. Then use the tool like Wireshark to capture the ARP request and a reply generated when your device tries to communicate with other devices on the network. Let us summarize this topic. In the summary, is a vital protocol that resolves IP address to a MAC address within a local network. We have covered the ARP process, message types, caching, and security concerns like ARP spoofing. Remember that ARP is both a helpful protocol and potential security risk if left unprotected. But there are mitigation strategies to safeguard your network. So, time for quiz. Let's wrap up with a quick quiz. What does ARP do? What is the difference between an ARP request and an ARP reply? And finally, how can ARP spoofing can be prevented? Students, take a moment to answer these questions before we move on to the practical examples. Thank you.